Hey guys, welcome back to ProductNation, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the POCO X3 NFC. It's a pretty budget phone and has some really impressive specs. But is it impressive in terms of performance? Let's find out in this video. Make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to our channel because we're soon going to be doing a review on the Mi 10T Pro. We just got our hands on this, so we're really excited to share this with you as well. So make sure you're subscribed for more content. So let's begin with some good old unboxing. Getting into the box itself, the packaging is very similar to other POCO phones we've seen in the past. Colorway black and yellow as we've seen before. The version we got is 6GB RAM and 128GB of storage. Getting into the box, you have the outer layer which has got the cover for it and also the SIM card ejector tool and documents. And the phone itself has the specs right on there. Snapdragon 732G, 120Hz refresh rate, and a 5160 mAh battery. Pretty massive battery, and you have that fast charger included with it along with a USB Type-C. The phone itself has a very unique design at the back for the camera module, and even the logo at the back, the POCO logo, is absolutely massive. That's a monstrous logo, and the color kind of shifts when you move it around in the light, as you can see right there. The camera module comprises of 4 lenses and a flash system at the back, arranged in a very unique way. You have a Type-C and a headphone jack at the bottom. On the right side of the phone, you've got the volume up and down, fingerprint sensor, power button. At the top, you've got the IR blaster, and on the left of the phone, you've got the SIM card tray. Now, I'd say overall, the phone looks and feels pretty good in hand. As you can see, holding it is a pretty pleasant experience. Now let's just set up the phone and get everything sorted out before we can start running our tests and figure out how the phone performs. Now, just getting into it right away, it's very smooth, and that is because of the 120Hz in refresh rate. As you can see right there, it is a lot smoother than 60Hz. Now, the version that we got, like I said, is the 6GB and 128GB, and you can see that right there. The first thing we're going to change, obviously, is going to put it in dark mode because that's the only way you should be using your phone. And the second thing we're going to do is enable full screen gestures, because that's just how I like it. And now it feels a lot better and a lot more premium as a new 2020 smartphone. So let's begin with the fingerprint setup. Like I said, it's located on the right side of the phone. The setup process is pretty fast, pretty responsive and quick. The fingerprint sensor, as it is known, is one of the fastest ones when it's located on the power side switch. So it's pretty quick, pretty fast, nothing to complain about. Works really well. Now, the camera setup on this is a quad camera setup. You have a 64 megapixel main shooter, 2 megapixel depth sensor, 13 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel macro lens. The camera performance overall was pretty decent. The software itself it's running is very similar to the other Xiaomi phones we've seen in the past, and it performs really well. All these features are transferred over. Alright, so now we're doing a front camera test on the POCO X3 NFC. This is recording at 1080p at 30 FPS. The sound you're hearing is coming from the POCO X3 as well. What do you think about the quality? It looks pretty decent, right? At 1080?
Very decent.
Very decent. The sharpness is pretty nice, and the colors are pretty good. A little bit on the paler side, but it's okay overall. Back camera at 1x looks pretty decent. The skin tones on Alex look pretty good. Overall, the HDR balance is a lot better. As you can see, the background and the foreground are kind of in focus at the same time. However, the sharpness does look slightly fake-ish. Not the greatest. Now, standing in the same exact spot, we switched over to the ultra wide angle lens, and as you can see, it's a lot darker than the regular lens. It does underexpose a lot more than the regular lens, but overall the balance is still okay. This phone does record at 4K, and looking at some 1080p and 4K footage side by side, you can really see how 1080p struggles as opposed to the 4K footage. The 4K footage is still smoothened, over smoothened in some cases, and detail is lost, but it is still a lot better than 1080. Let's look at the picture performance. The image quality is pretty decent for the price range of this phone. Ultra wide angle to 1x, the image quality improvement is a little bit, and you can zoom in all the way as well for the telephoto range as 2x zoom. Now, looking at all of these images, you can see even in the portrait mode, it isn't terrible, but it isn't the best we've seen either. The selfie camera performance is kind of alright. It does smoothen the face a lot more than I would like, but that's what it is. The low light performance is actually pretty good on this. As you can see, it brings out a lot more detail in the skies, in the building, and you can even see the clouds in the picture on the right, which is with the night mode. The picture on the left is without night mode, the picture on the right is with night mode, and as you can see even in this image, the performance improvement is quite significant at the cost of quality. Now, while going through the phone settings for the camera, we found this clone mode that was pretty cool. It's with the newer Xiaomi phones, you can actually try it out. And you can pretty much just, without even a tripod, create a clone of yourself. Looks pretty cool, and I think it's a very cool, fun, creative way to take pictures. Now let's get into some good old gaming. The game we're installing, obviously, as you guys already know by now, is Call of Duty, and we're going to test out the performance of that 120Hz refresh rate. Even though it's going to output at 60 FPS, you really can feel a difference. Now, playing the game itself with the Snapdragon 732G, the performance was actually really good. There is a huge improvement in performance and overall usability compared to the Snapdragon 730 that was already a gaming processor that did really well. The 32G does really well. I didn't feel any lag or any issues while using the Call of Duty game. However, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the lag and stutter later in the video. Even video consumption, watching videos on this with that screen feels really great. We've been using this for about 2 weeks now, 3 weeks. Alex had the opportunity to take some pictures with it as well. You've seen the pictures, you've seen the gaming tests, and the overall performance of this is pretty decent. I'd say it's at about a 7 or an 8 out of 10. And the reason why I give it that is because the processor on this still isn't the most powerful. The display is very impressive with that 120Hz refresh rate. However, the processor, the 732G, sometimes isn't able to keep up with that fast refresh rate. So this results in a lag-ish or a lag feeling when you're using the phone and moving through it very quickly. Doesn't mean the phone is slow, it just means that the processor sometimes isn't able to keep up with that refresh rate. Overall, pretty decent phone, really enjoyed using it as well. For the price point, it's really worth it. POCO does really well every time they release a new phone, and this isn't an exception to that. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and do consider subscribing for more content just like this, and we'll see you again in the next video.